You're listening to the JD Rucker Show. Let's begin. Hello, friends. I am not feeling my best tonight. This is why, we were supposed to be unveiling the new lighting today that wasn't so dark, but then I've got like this, you might be able to see it. I've got this like big red, almost like a blister, blood vessel popped apparently in my eye, and I am feeling a little under the weather, but the show must go on. I've had too many days over the last couple of weeks where I didn't put out a show as I should, and that's just not acceptable. So we're pushing forward. I went with the slightly dimmer lights so that you didn't get grossed out by my various facial ailments, but hopefully you don't look too close. Don't stop looking at me. Stop. I can feel you. Yeah. So, but we got a big show today. Lots of stuff happening. Lots of good news. Just the good news keeps rolling in. Some funny news even. Gosh, we got an Eric Swalwell story. I love any show where I get to talk about Eric Swalwell, because it's not that he's not the most hated guy as far as I'm concerned in the Democrat Party and the Uniparty swamp, but he is arguably the most comical. And I mean, this is a guy that he just keeps going. You got to give him that. He just, no matter how much he embarrasses himself, shames his name, shames his nation, he still keeps going. So, kudos for perseverance, I guess. We had Associated Press. We're talking about them doing their standard fake news, because that's what they do. Karen Bass, apparently, and very few people are talking about this, but she might have divulged that in a secret conversation that she knew about the LA fires ahead of time. That's crazy. Tulsi Gabbard making her first big move as far as I'm concerned. She's firing a whole bunch of people because they were freaks. And that was very quick, since the freak story came out yesterday, and they're in the process of identifying and firing everybody involved. Awesome. We will be talking about the various leftist groups. This is the serious talk of the day. Talking about the various leftist groups, and of course the big money from Soros et al. That's funding them. We'll be talking about how we need to stop just assuming, Trump's going to fix it. We do have a role to play in all of this. Speaking of Trump, though, he made the coolest announcement I think I've ever heard him make. Seriously. He's made some pretty cool announcements. All right. Just even in the last 30 days, the announcements that totally blew me away. But this is one that I did not have on my bingo card. We're talking about, or even on my gold card, which I don't have a gold card, at least not the one that President Trump is talking about. The aforementioned Eric Swalwell may be seriously in trouble this time. We'll see what happens, but if Nick Sortor, independent journalist Nick Sortor, is correct, and there's no reason to think he's not, if he really does have the goods, then this could finally be it for Mr. Swalwell. Texas is going nuclear, and no, we're not talking about their football team. We're talking about their actual state is going so nuclear because they're trying to entice AI. Go figure. And then, of course, the sad news of the day, not sad, but disturbing, is the fact that eggs just keep going up. What's up with that? Somebody make sense of the eggs. We are, as I noted on last night's show, we are trying to expand the show. I say this as I'm even struggling to speak my words. To be able to do it right, we're going to have to be able to go live. And as I've said in the past, we're trying to integrate properly with Rumble. The technology gap between what I can handle and what Rumble wants me to handle, there's a little bit of a gap there. We're working on it. I was hoping to have it all situated over the weekend, but the weekend was as they've been for a long time. The weekend was jam-packed and loaded with news, and of course I work solo over at thelibertydaily.com as well as discernreport.com as well as americafirstreport.com. I work solo on those three sites, aggregating hundreds, thousands of stories on the weekends. So I was not able to get to learning how to use something other than OBS, but we will get there. And once we do, then I'll be able to just do my show full-blown, straight-up live through Rumble Studio. In the meantime, we will be doing a combination. Last night's show was just straightforward live. Today, we're going to do a whole lot of clips that I have pre-recorded throughout the day. Again, because I anticipated that because of my ailment, because I am just flat out exhausted, that it would make sense, a lot of sense, for me to pre-record a good chunk of today's episode. But to be clear, I mean, I pre-record all the way up until like literally minutes before the show. So it's not like, oh my gosh, he's going to be talking about, well, today Kash Patel was confirmed. No, this isn't old news. This is, I already told you what we're talking about, and none of it is old. All of it is still, of course, very relevant even for this 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern show. It is going to be a good show, though. I can tell you that because, again, I pre-recorded a lot of it. With that said, I got to make my quick 30-second pitch for the best coffee in the world. You get people say, how many cups do you have? I got a lot, okay? I like iced coffee. I like hot coffee. I like iced coffee. I like hot coffee. I drink coffee throughout the day. Maybe that's why been getting sick lately, because I haven't been drinking enough of Promise Grounds coffee. You should check them out. Go to jdrucker.com/coffee. It is a Christian coffee company, and it is also happens to be the best coffee I've ever had in my life. That is not a joke. That is not hyperbole. Okay. And we have had some pretty amazing coffee. We used to go up to San Francisco fairly regularly before it got totally crazy. Okay, it's been over a decade ago, but we used to go up a lot, and the coffee there was great. I've been to Seattle, I've been to Portland, I've been to all the various coffee meccas here in the United States of America, and I can tell you with all honesty that Promise Grounds coffee is the best I've ever had. jdrucker.com/coffee. Let's get to that first story. The AP reports that over 20 DOGE employees have resigned for ethical reasons, but of course it's all just fake news. And we have come to expect that from what a lot of people, including Elon Musk, are now calling Associated Propaganda. That's their new name, because they are no longer the press, because the press are supposed to tell the truth. The AP does not tell the truth. They are just propaganda. And they do it willfully. This story in particular is one that is egregious, because this is clearly a textbook example of narrative framing to support an agenda that has either been given to them by their puppet masters, or that they have chosen to accept themselves as, independent press. We're going to tell lies to the American people so that they'll hate our enemies. I mean, that's literally what it comes down to, and they know it. It's not like they're oblivious to this. But let's get to the story itself. According to X, their post, I read the article. This is just propaganda, but we will at least read what they're putting out to the masses. Breaking. More than 20 civil service employees are resigning from Elon Musk's DOGE, saying they refuse to dismantle critical public services. Now, the way that this is framed makes it sound as if Elon Musk has brought on some DOGE employees, and these DOGE employees, upon seeing the work that they were supposed to do to dismantle such agencies as USAID, that was just too much for them, that they just couldn't, their conscience and their willingness, their oath to support and defend the Constitution is just can't happen with DOGE. I wonder if that's really what happened. So let's start with the first question. Were they actually hired by DOGE? Actually, no. They were hired to be part of the U.S. Digital Services Office, which existed long before Elon Musk or Donald Trump ever set foot in the White House. This has been a holdover agency for quite a long time. And that holdover agency, where these people were a part of, brought them in and said, okay, your mission has changed. You're going to help us to bring efficiency to government, and you're going to have to come into the office. We don't know, because we haven't interviewed these people, we don't know whether it was the trying to make government work more efficiently part, or the you got to come back in the office part, or a combination of the two. But one of those two things, or probably both, were the reasons that they left, not because they were trying to fulfill their oath to the Constitution. If they were trying to fulfill their oath to defend the Constitution, then they would be working hard to do exactly what DOGE is doing, but instead they decided to do something different. According to Elon Musk, in response to the Associated Propaganda piece, he says, more fake news from Associated Propaganda. These were Democrat political holdovers who refused to return to work. They would have been fired had they not resigned. So they have a choice. They can either come into work, do the job that they're supposed to do, be held accountable for the massive paychecks that they receive, and, go earn a living. Or option 2 was to not come into work and get fired. Option 3, which is the one they took, was to not come into work, but before getting fired, use it as a platform to express their distaste for Elon Musk and the DOGE mission, the mission which, of course, falls well within the realm of the Constitution and is extremely popular amongst the American people. Contrary to what legacy media says, if you actually look at the polling numbers, DOGE is well over 60% as far as people agreeing with everything that they're doing and everything that they propose to do in the future. So strike 743,000 for the Associated Propaganda Network. And as far as these people, they wanted to come across as being heroes. They wanted to be these principled and ethical and constitutionally driven American patriots. But as it turns out, they were just evil drama queens. Here's a hypothetical for you. What if, instead of having like a lottery-based system for certain types of visas, or a merit-based system, as some of the visas are designated to use, what if we just scrapped all that and we just went to a straight up, just a pay model, right? And instead of having to prove, that you're super smart or whatever, or that you win some lottery, everybody gets a certain number of visas to the different countries. What if we just sold the visas? It'd be similar to like a green card, right? Except, since we're selling it, we'll call it like a gold card, okay? We'll call it like a gold card, and we'll sell it to people. Somebody wants to come in and again, operate in this nation. They want to do it in an expedited manner. They got to pay a lot of money. I don't know, maybe just pick a random number. $5 million. They pay $5 million, and now they're allowed to come in the country. They get vetted, of course. It's not just like, oh, anybody with $5 million can come in, but it's expedited. They pay their $5 million, and they do their gold card application, and then days, maybe even hours later, they're admitted to the country after a full blown vetting. Do you think that we could get a lot of people to do that? Maybe even use that to, I don't know, pay down the debt? I know you're thinking, what a crazy idea. That just came out of left field. And I would tell you, no, it didn't come out of left field. It came out of the Oval Office earlier today.
We're going to be doing something else that's going to be very, very good. We're going to be selling a gold card. You have a green card. This is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and that's going to give you green card privileges plus. It's going to be a route to citizenship, and wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. They'll be wealthy, and they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people. And we think it's going to be extremely successful. Never been done before or anything like this, but it's something that we're going to be putting out over the next, would you say 2 weeks, Howard? Do you want to say a couple of words about it?
Sure.
Mr. President, are there
Wait a
any
minute.
requirements for that
Hang on a
gold
sec.
card? Do you have to invest a certain amount of money in this country in order to qualify for that gold card?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Go
the
ahead.
EB-5 program was really, you lend some money, but it was full of nonsense, make-believe, and fraud, and it was a way to get a green card that was low priced. So the president said, rather than having this sort of ridiculous EB-5 program, we're going to end the EB-5 program. We're going to replace it with the Trump Gold Card, which is really a green card gold. So they'll be able to pay $5 million to the U.S. government. They'll have to go through vetting, of course. We're going to make sure they're wonderful, world-class global citizens. They can come to America. The president can give them a green card, and they can invest in America, and we can use that money to reduce our deficit. Why do we give out lotteries of green cards? Why do we give out EB-5 for green cards? The President of the United States understands that the right answer is, why don't we eliminate the deficit of the United States of America instead?
The gold card, well, millions, but the gold card will bring in with it people that create jobs, very high-level people. I think companies will pay to get people in. For instance, you today graduate from the Wharton School of Finance or Harvard or Stanford or any college, and nobody knows if you can even go to work for a company. So Apple and all these companies that want to get people to be working for them will be able to buy a card, and for the people that are number one in their class at top schools, I see that as one of the things. But generally speaking, it'll be people with money and people that create jobs, and they won't have to pay any tax on income outside of the United States, which they're not paying right now. They're not citizens, but they'll have to pay if they create jobs in the United States. They'll pay full taxes like everybody else. So you're getting big taxpayers, big job producers, and we'll be able to sell maybe 1 million of these cards, maybe more than that. And if you add up the numbers, they're pretty good. As an example, 1 million cards would be worth $5 trillion. $5 trillion.
Wow.
And if you sell 10 million of the cards, that's a total of $50 trillion. Well, we have 35 trillion in debt. That'd be nice. So we'll see. But it could be great. Maybe it will be fantastic. We have it all worked out from the legal standpoint. It's totally legal to do. Hasn't been done before. It's been done in many different forms. We give them away. Why should we give them away? We shouldn't give them away. And I think it's something very exciting. I think it's potentially just something that we're all very excited about.
Well, there you have it. Now, here's the thing. Prior to 2017, 2018, right around that time, I had been a free trade absolutist, basically. I did not believe in tariffs at all. I learned that President Trump's business acumen, his economic instincts, his fiscal understanding were far better than mine. And I learned to trust his financial decisions, his economic decisions. This falls under that category because had you told me about this as just a hypothetical, a real hypothetical, I would have said, oh, I'm sure there's some reason why it wouldn't work. But because this is President Trump who's proposing it, I have to keep an open mind. So I looked into the EB-5 visas that they were referring to. There's approximately 40,000 of those available every year. And the minimum investment for those is $1 million. So there's precedent, right? I mean, the idea of an EB-5 visa is that people, foreign investors can come in and start a business. They invest into certain whatevers, and that investment needs to be relatively sizable, $1 million. Both Trump and Lutnick mentioned that that program is flawed. There's loopholes. There's this, that, or the other. So, and I don't know much about it other than those numbers: $40,000 a year, $1 million minimum investment. Well, what Trump is talking about is basically it's $5 million, and you can come in and do what you need to do to grow your investment. And he's referring not just to businesses, people that want to invest into a business, but he's also talking about, for example, the talent search aspect of it. Would companies really be willing to pay $5 million to bring in the exact right person? Maybe. I mean, look, again, this qualifies under the category of I don't get it, but I trust Trump's instincts. And it's also one of those things where it's, you know what? If it doesn't work, what did we lose? Nothing. So I love it. This is great. Yeah, I don't see any downside to this at all. Now, maybe some of you out there want to reach out to me in the comments or reach out to me directly by going to jdrucker.com/talk, jdrucker.com/talk. Tell me I'm an idiot. Tell me Trump's brilliant. Tell me whatever you want to tell me. Because this particular, I keep my finger on the pulse of everything economic, right? Well, this is one where I guess I didn't have enough fingers, because this one, like I said, it didn't come out of left field. It came out of the Oval Office, but it certainly feels like a blind side as far as items that I didn't have on my bingo card for this Tuesday. If there's one thing that people who are brand new to prepping often forget, it's the long-term storage meds. I think a lot of times people either forget them or they don't realize that they can acquire medications that can be held for an extended period of time. My good friends over at Jace Medical, well, they've got you covered, whether it's for chronic meds for illnesses that you or your family members have, whether it's antibiotics, just being ready for whatever is going to happen in the world. These are things that you should have available to you if you're going to be preparing for self-reliance in the long haul. Go to jdrucker.com/meds, jdrucker.com/meds. Use promo code RUCKER10, the number 10, RUCKER10 at checkout, and you get a nice discount on top of that. jdrucker.com/meds. Congressman Eric Swalwell has been accused of getting drunk with some lobbyists that he just met, spilling some intimate details to them that he probably shouldn't have, and then asking them for assistance in cheating on his wife. This comes to us from independent journalist Nick Sortor, who was apparently sitting right next to him at the time, and who confronted him after the fact. We will play that confrontation here in a bit, but first, let's get into the details from Sortor himself. Eric Swalwell panics when I ask about his Chinese spy girlfriend Fang Fang and whether that's a bigger national security threat than Elon Musk. I sit next to a drunk Swalwell at dinner for 90 minutes. He was immediately compromised by a group of lobbyists he just met, spilling intimate details about his job and asking for help. Cheating on his wife. Massive national security threat. This guy should have his clearance revoked. Swalwell spent his dinner bragging about orgies on Capitol Hill, telling them he's bored of his wife and only wants to have sex with, quote-unquote, tens. Worse, he spoke about abusing his power on the House Intel Committee, which he has since been booted off of, saying he pushed to subpoena Ivanka Trump because she's hot as blank. This guy must be removed from the Homeland Security Committee. He cannot keep his freaking mouth shut. After I began questioning him, Swalwell jumped back into the group of lobbyists to hide from me, but I pressed on. Dude looked absolutely terrified and 100% guilty. He knows he's been caught. More to come later. I have about an hour and a half of audio to go through. And big shout out to Laura Loomer for assisting with the digging into this clown while I focused on listening in. Here's the video.
So, Congressman, you referred to Elon Musk as a fascist at some point and alluded to him being a national security threat. Do you see that more of a national security threat, you sleeping with a Chinese spy, than transparency in the federal government? What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that? What's Fang Fang think of that?
What are you doing? This is ridiculous.
What's fascistic about exposing government corruption? I mean, I know you're just at dinner now with a bunch of lobbyists. They're buying you a bunch of booze, and that's awfully nice. I know you were talking about, maybe Maybe finding somebody else because you only like to people that are 10s. I just heard that one too. So what do you think about that? Do you want to comment on any of it? Elon Musk is a national security threat, but you sleeping with a Chinese spy is not. Is that correct? You don't want to comment on that at all? Looks like guilty as charged.
Oh boy, yeah. I mean, it's standard operating procedure for a member of Congress to run away when approached by journalists, that especially ones that are adversarial to them. But with that said, he did seem to have a sort of air of, oh crap, what did I say while I was standing next to this guy? I wonder if he was recording when I was talking all that other trash. I mean, at the very least, he's almost certainly going to be in trouble with his wife if all this pans out. Should he get in trouble for other things? We will see. We will keep an eye and an ear on this story, especially as soon as Mr. Sortor publishes all the rest of the dirt that he was able to collect on the compromised congressman. Texas wants to be king of nuclear power as next AI trade unfolds. Now, I'm not going to get into my qualms with artificial intelligence. I always get the hate mail every time I do, and not that I care about that, but I want to focus on the nuclear power aspect of it. All I'll say is that AI is obviously here and integrating with society. Artificial general intelligence will be here this year, almost certainly, and will start to integrate society into it. And then once we get to artificial superintelligence in the next 2 to 5 years, then we're going to society will change. At least for Western society, it will change dramatically. And I encourage people, I'll just say this, I just encourage people to become as self-reliant as possible, to be not necessarily to break away from society today, though that wouldn't be a bad idea, but to at least be prepared and able to break away from society as much as possible once artificial superintelligence fully rears its ugly head. But with that said, there is good news, and this is, to me, a very positive story because it focuses on nuclear power, which I'm a huge fan of. Nuclear power is by far the best sustainable energy out there. It's not even close compared to wind or solar or whatever else they try to throw at us. Nuclear power is the good stuff. It's basically unlimited. It's very, 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 very clean. It's very inexpensive. It checks all the boxes that should make the climate change cultists super excited about it. But of course, if they were to go down that road, that would mean they wouldn't get their Green New Deal because it wouldn't be necessary, and therefore they hate it. You know, don't forget, the Green New Deal is all about an economic plan, not a climate change plan, if they really wanted to address climate change, even in their own terms. Now, I'm not talking about my perspectives on climate change or your perspectives on climate change. If they do believe in climate change, then they should embrace nuclear power because it is the solution, and it's cheap, but whatever. According to this article over at Zero Hedge, we have a cross posted at AmericanPoliticalReport.com, at least in part. Texas is positioning itself to aggressively install next-generation nuclear reactors on its electrical grid to power artificial intelligence data centers and other electrification trends meticulously outlined in the next AI trade, which I'm not going to read to you or tell you about, but the link will be there. It's a good read. The small West Texas city of Abilene is better known for country music and rodeos than advanced nuclear physics, but that's where scientists are entering the final stretch of a race to boot up the next generation of American atomic energy. Praise God for that. Amid a flurry of nuclear startups around the world, Abilene-based Natura Resources is one of just 2 companies with permits from the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission to construct a so-called advanced reactor. It will build its small 1-megawatt molten salt reactor beneath a newly completed laboratory at Abilene Christian University in an underground trench 25 feet deep and 80 feet long, covered by a concrete lid and serviced by a 40-ton construction crane. The other company is in Oak Ridge, yada, yada, yada. A company and school no one has heard of has gotten to the forefront of advanced nuclear, said Rusty Towell, a nuclear physicist at Abilene Christian University and lead developer of Natura's reactor. This is going to bless the world, and I truly believe it is. I think the nuclear power is the way to go for obvious reasons. But if it's going to take artificial intelligence to prompt us as a nation to go far more nuclear than we already have, so be it. You know, if we're going to get something positive out of AI, this is it. Otherwise, everything else that I see with artificial intelligence is pretty much, I don't know, apocalyptic. U.S. egg-laying hen population implodes and the wholesale egg prices hit a new record. And this seems to be happening on a regular basis. I have a friend up in Los Angeles who's telling me that I don't even know if these were organic eggs, just a dozen eggs were over $13. I am old enough to remember when it was possible, especially when they were on sale, you could get a dozen eggs for under $1. Yes, I'm old, but still under $1 for a dozen eggs. And now you have a hard time in certain areas finding an egg for under $1. It's just insane. And it's manufactured. That's the part that really just makes me so angry. It really chaps my khakis, because I'm hearing from very smart people, that the culling of entire flocks, of huge flocks of chickens, of other poultry, is doing nothing to even remotely slow down the alleged bird flu challenge that we're finding. I personally, very skeptical. I mean, they burned me too bad during COVID to make me not question literally everything that they do. And yeah, but if it's Trump administration, I get it. But that doesn't mean that he's got his eyes on every single thing. And if they wanted to manufacture an egg price crisis, manufacture a chicken crisis, manufacture a bird flu crisis in general that affects the food supply and starts terrifying the population, they could probably pull it off. I'm not saying that they couldn't get caught, and I pray that they do get caught very soon. I pray that somebody, I don't know, RFK Jr. or Elon Musk or, heck, Pam Bondi, okay, Kash Patel. Give me anybody. Somebody's got to be able to have access to somebody who knows what is going on. It's an article over at zerohedge.com by Tyler Durden. And, of course, that's not his real name, and it's not even a he. It's not a she either. I think it's a combination of, from what I understand, the quote-unquote Tyler Durden over at Zero Hedge is actually a committee of people, but I digress. Under the Biden-Harris administration, farmers were forced to cull tens of millions of egg-laying hens to contain the bird flu outbreak. As a direct result, the nation's total egg-laying flock has plunged to its lowest level in nearly a decade, driving wholesale egg prices to record highs. Trump stated this week that Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins will take action on soaring egg pricing, adding, "We inherited all the problems." Trump is correct in saying that the eggflation mess was inherited, as the latest Bloomberg data shows that the nation's egg-laying hen population fell to its lowest level since 2016 last month. This decline was driven by farmers being forced to cull flocks under Biden's only term, to curb the bird flu outbreak. Gosh, imagine if, as bad as he is now, imagine if he were to somehow win in 2028, Joe Biden. My gosh. Anyway, there's a graphic. Here's a quote from Rollins. Said, "It was important to me to see firsthand an egg-laying farm facility implementing strong biosecurity measures. We have a lot of work to do as we combat avian flu, help our poultry industry recover, and bring the price of eggs down for all Americans. More coming midweek on this." That's what Rollins posted on X. And there she is in her, I guess, her hen outfit. Is that what that would be? I don't know. Monday's print of the Urner Berry Egg Index, EBP, shows wholesale prices jumped to $7.56, a new record high. Since late December, wholesale prices have jumped to new record highs by the week, with reports of egg shortages nationwide. Now, I will admit, that sounds pretty good. I was paying, of course, I'm here in California, but I was paying over $7 per dozen 5-10 years ago. So this, man, you all have it good in other places. But then again, the temperature here is 72 degrees, and it's always 72 degrees. So that's why I pay double for pretty much everything. It's the weather. It's just the weather. So is this manufactured? Is this a plot? against Americans? Is this a plot against our food supply? It very well could be. I'm not going to lie. This is one of those scenarios where, because we've been seeing attacks on the poultry industry, on the meat industry in general, the protein industry in general, anything other than plant-based proteins or bug-based proteins or lab-grown meats, those are protected safe somehow. And yet cows, chickens, pigs, eggs, any kind of actual real high-quality protein seems to be under attack, and it has been under attack since shortly after COVID launched. And it has nothing to do with COVID, I don't think, but it did seem, hopefully you all recall, 2021 and 2022, when there was just a massive spike in the number of industrial accidents happening in food processing plants across the United States, across the globe, as a matter of fact. And then, of course, we saw mysterious deaths of large herds of cattle, mysterious deaths of entire flocks of birds, and then bird flu comes along to finish the job. I'm concerned about protein, very concerned. Obviously, I own a long-term storage beef company, which you can always go to by going to prepperfarms.com and using promo code JDR for the maximum discount. But I digress. I want to stock up on as much high-quality, real American protein as possible. And if you freeze it, it can last anywhere from 12 to sometimes 24 months. If you hard freeze it, it doesn't deteriorate necessarily as much as it just gets a little not as edible, not dangerous per se, but isn't edible. And again, that's if you keep it in a deep freeze. If you want to get canned meats, that's awesome too. That can last anywhere from 18 months all the way up to 5 years. Some say certain meats, in certain cans, can last a lot longer than that. I'm not going to go make any recommendations. Rucker gave me botulism. I'm not going to go down that road, but they can last a long time. And keep in mind, when you're looking at the dates, those are the best buy dates. Generally speaking, make sure to read very closely. That's the best buy date. That's not the quote-unquote expiration date. The best, and this is not from me, this is from survivalist experts, the best indicator is your own senses. If you open up, first check the can. Okay, you got a can of meat, a can of anything, can of green beans, whatever. Check the can. Any visible rust or dents or anything like that, if everything's clear, great. Open it up. Look at it. Is it the right color? Smell it. Is it the right smell? Maybe a little bit of a taste. If it passes every other, does it taste fine? In those scenarios, it should be it should be okay. I'm getting choked up. Maybe that's a sign. Maybe I've got something wrong, God forbid. So I didn't have any canned meat lately anyway. Then there's the dehydration concept, which doesn't really add much to it. I mean, you might as well freeze it, because dehydrating, unless you love, I love beef jerky, so I mean, there's that. But even if you have it sealed off, dehydrated meat will still only last months, not years. You can last, I think, again, 18 months, maybe 24 months for certain types of properly sealed beef jerky. Freeze-dried is the best way to go, because you can go 25 years with that. That's why we do freeze-dried. But and look, as much as I'd love to say, buy my meat, I would strongly recommend, if you have the means, and you have to have the time too, because it is very time consuming, but if you have the means, now would probably be a good time to get your own freeze dryer. Just saying. Not saying, I'm just saying. Okay? Get your own freeze dryer. You cook up your meat, right? Or you can do it raw. Raw is an option too. A lot of people do that. We like to cook up our meat. And if we've got like hamburger meat, we'll cook up a lot of hamburger meat, and we'll make our meal out of it, and then what's left over, we take that and we freeze dry it. Okay, and then you put it into Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, seal it up, put it in a cool, dark place, and it should be still good and still healthy and still nutritious after like 25 years. So yeah, so I would recommend. And by the way, if you want to get a freeze dryer, they can be expensive. You can get $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, sometimes more. But you can get them. There's always a good discount over at Harvest Rights. You can get there by going to jdrucker.com/harvest. And I want you to know, this wasn't buy my beef, buy my freeze dryer. This is about the eggs. This is about survival. And I am, Just because I have sponsors that are in survival doesn't mean that I wouldn't be talking about this anyway. It's a concern. It was Henry Kissinger who once said, "Who controls the food supply can control the people." Are they trying to control the food supply, specifically protein? Because protein is so important. Are they really, truly trying to make it to where we can't have beef or chicken or fish or eggs? If that's the case, then by golly, figure out how to stock up now. Did Karen Bass's cryptic message mean that she knew about the LA fires ahead of time? It's a bombshell if it's true, obviously. And we will never know, I don't think. We'll never know if it is true, because such things, such massive conspiracies, such as the notion that the LA fires were planned, initiated, and that people, including LA Mayor Karen Bass, knew about it ahead of time. Wow. That would, of course, be the bombshell of bombshells. So chances are we'll never know. But we do have at least a little bit of evidence that it's possible. It seems, I wouldn't say necessarily likely, but I mean, we're talking about better than a 20 or 30% chance. We're talking about, based upon the wording of the conversation, if the conversation is true, is real, is legit, then I would say there's only a few other possible ways to interpret the words that she said. This is an audio that was dropped by James O'Keefe from O'Keefe Media Group last Friday. And generally speaking, when we get these leaks, unless it's very blatantly a video leak, with these audio leaks, I generally wait for a second opinion, a second source. Just, we need to get more information. And I like to jump on stories, especially conspiracy theories, as soon as they're credible. This one, I waited. I held just in case, because it's hard for me to wrap my brain around the notion that they're starting at least this fire, if not these fires, if not maybe all of the fires. A lot of people have talked about the Maui fires being started intentionally. A lot of people have talked about perhaps even the hurricanes being from last year being part of a weather modification plot, plan, scheme, whatever. Well, if the LA fires were intentional, and if a lot of people, a lot of politicians, and perhaps other people were made aware of them ahead of time, it doesn't make sense to us per se, but it sort of has a sense of ordered disorder, if that makes any sense. Noah, great journalist over at 100% Fed Up and WLT Report, is one of the few that reported on it, which is funny. This is why, again, I'm waited all the way until Tuesday just to see. Now, on X, to be clear, on X, a lot of people are jumping in there and saying, yeah, this seems pretty clear. She knew something. She knew that there was going to be an event, and it just coincidentally it happens 2 or 3 days before the fire. No, I think this is clear cut. It's not clear cut, but it is at the very least very interesting. Before I get to the article, let me go ahead. Let's just play the let's play the audio itself before I start talking about something that you haven't heard yet.
And just in terms of my trip, just so you know, I'm missing 2 work days. That's it. And if President Biden extends me an invitation, I took it. And hopefully you can read in between the lines. But I would just appreciate and it's hard for me to tell you this, but hold tight. You will understand soon. The situation is very dangerous, and I would never I will take the criticism before I do a publicity stunt. And frankly, a press conference at this point in time would just be publicity.
I think
the
neighbors, the property owners,
yeah,
and the residents. I mean, 41,000 people live within a square mile here.
Yeah.
2 families share a 1-bedroom apartment.
But they want to hear that something is going to be done.
They want to know it's recognized. But they want to know it's recognized.
Exactly. But if I have a choice between that and compromising something, I just have to go along with it. It's not my area of expertise. I want to make sure that you are safe. And hopefully you can read in between the lines. But I would just appreciate and it's hard for me to tell you this, but hold tight. You will understand soon.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And when I am able to talk, I will be happy to go into great detail.
Okay. And you've got me on the street, and you're welcome to call me at any time. I'll call you right back.
No problem. And just in terms of my trip, just so you know, I'm missing 2 work days. That's
Okay.
it. And if President Biden extends me an invitation, I took it.
I don't know. That was pretty crazy. Read between the lines. Oh, I'm not sure. It's tough. It's not clear cut, you know? It seems like for a minute there she might be alluding to something. You know, hold tight. You'll understand soon. I'll go into the details soon. I don't know. The situation is very dangerous. She said one of the things, though, that one of the pieces of not evidence, but a, thinking along the lines of how these people think. It's conspicuous that shortly after that audio dropped, she immediately fired the fire chief, and that became the news about Karen Bass, right? It was bad news for her, but a lot of people were, even on the left, even in legacy media, were like, oh, she's got her scapegoat. She's pointing fingers at somebody else. She's not taking responsibility for herself. But then nobody was talking about this bombshell, right? Or potential bombshell. Oh, we don't know for sure. But anyway, let's get to this article by Noah over at 100% Fed Up. James O'Keefe and his O'Keefe Media Group have done it again. Absolutely incredible work by this team. O'Keefe has just released what he says is a leaked phone call involving LA Mayor Karen Bass just 2 to 3 days before the devastating LA wildfires broke out. And let's just say the call is extremely cryptic. So much so that Bass literally tells the other person at one point to read between the lines. They also said, let's see, in a private phone call, Mayor Karen Bass sought to downplay her trip to Ghana as a brief visit. And again, this is before. Just so you know, I'm missing 2 work days. We get that part. That part is weird. Okay, especially how she says, if Biden extends the invitation, I took it. Switching tenses there, we'll see. That doesn't catch my attention nearly as much as this part, which says just 3 days before the fires erupted in the LA area, Bass issued a cryptic message to our source advising them to read in between the lines and hold tight. You will understand soon. That's significant. She also later says the situation is very dangerous. Now, she could be referring to the growing dangers around MacArthur Park. And then she goes on to say, I will take criticism before I do a publicity stunt. That sort of argues against, foreknowledge of the fires, because it seems as if maybe she's talking about, I don't know. I mean, here's the thing, is that no matter what, this is a cryptic message. That is the right way to put it. Even the way that she's talking in a strange whisper. It's like, what's going on here? And why did they immediately change the subject and then turn the focus surrounding Karen Bass towards her wrongly firing a fire chief? Well, I shouldn't say wrongly. It's not that she shouldn't have fired the fire chief. She should have fired herself and the fire chief. That would have been much better. Much, much better. But, and then there was this whole discussion about how she was investigating why she was allowed to go. It's like, what is she 8? Does she need to, parental supervision as mayor of LA County or mayor of Los Angeles before she can make decisions? I just don't get it. This entire story is really weird. And perhaps that's why it wasn't covered. Maybe it's not that their distraction with the whole firing of the police chief worked. Maybe that's not why it wasn't covered. Maybe it just hasn't been covered by conservative and even alternative media because it's just weird. There's a gold rush going on right now, not just by central banks, not just by entire countries, not just by those trying to refill Fort Knox before Elon Musk and President Trump get there. No, there's a gold rush happening amongst individual Americans. It's a gold and silver rush, and it's specifically attracting people of retirement, of or near, I should say, retirement age. People are starting to realize that maybe they don't need their IRAs or 401ks or whatever stuck in the stock market. Maybe they should be looking at physical precious metals like gold and silver. Now, I am not a financial advisor, so I'm not going to give you advice. I'm just going to tell you who to talk to if you've already made up your mind and you think maybe I should consider it. Go to jdrgold.com, jdrgold.com, or call 800-200-4653. That's 800-200-GOLD. And check out what the folks over at Genesis Gold Group can do for you. They are a faith-driven precious metals company. They don't do the scams, the cheats, the tactics, such as, offering free or bonus silver. It's never free, and it's not really a bonus. You're paying for it. They just tack it onto the price and then say, "Oh, look, here's free, here's bonus." No. It's they probably have a good role to play in government, at least the old government. I would imagine that DOGE and Elon Musk would sniff out their scams. But if you want to deal with a direct and honest company to do a tax-free rollover or transfer of your IRA, go to jdrgold.com, jdrgold.com. You'll receive a free definitive wealth protection kit, plus you will be contacted by my good friends at Genesis Gold Group. Do not underestimate the leftist groups protesting DOGE and other Trump administration initiatives. We can laugh at them because a lot of times these protests are very small. We can say, oh, what are they really going to be able to do? They're just a bunch of Democrats, lawmakers, and a small crowd of people, and they're all just yelling about Elon Musk or Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or Tulsi Gabbard or Kash Patel or whoever the boogeyman of that particular moment is, and that boogeyman seems to change regularly, all leading back to Trump, of course. Well, don't underestimate them. Don't laugh at them. We are being, in many ways, the narrative is already being built. Okay, the agenda is already being pushed forward, and that narrative, which supports the agenda, is the idea of that the positive effects of the Trump administration are actually negative. This is very 1984-ish, right? Strength is weakness, war is peace, idiocy is being smart, wicked smart, right? Yeah, we can't get complacent. Are we in the America First movement? Are we happy with the way things are going? I would say most of us are. Is the Trump administration accomplishing more than any administration in such a short period of time prior to it? Yes, I think that's pretty clear. And do we have the momentum? You betcha. Do we have the Constitution on our side? Absolutely. This is why I'm not nearly as scared of the lawfare as a lot of people. But I am concerned about the narrative, because I realize that when you have people that are that desperate, and they are that desperate, that they're willing to go all the way, including sacrificing themselves in certain ways. I'm not saying that we should be concerned yet about such things as suicide bombers, but you do have people going out there and doing really, really, really stupid things that does harm to themselves. And that's concerning. I mean, you had there's now 2 or 3 different women who have publicly called for the assassination of Elon Musk. That's insane that people would do that, because they're going to get arrested. They're going to face punishment. Lord willing, of course. Who knows? Maybe they won't. Maybe George Soros and his cronies have it all planned out, and they're going to bail them out and give them legal defense or whatever. I don't know. You have people that are actually going out there and literally taking firearms and shooting up Tesla dealerships. This is an unhinged response. And when you have an unhinged response by its very nature, that makes it potentially dangerous, because there are going to be people who can be easily indoctrinated. This is why we're seeing all these protests pop up. And we can laugh at them because it's not like, they're not getting huge crowds, but they are getting attention. And they're getting the message hammered over and over and over and over and over again by legacy media, by especially local media. Local media loves to cover this stuff, okay? And they're really trying their best to get their local communities believing that a majority of Americans are against the Trump administration and against what DOGE is doing and against MAHA and against all of these other things. They're not. We are not. The American people, a majority of us, support what DOGE is doing, what Robert F. Kennedy is starting to do, what the Trump administration has been doing for the last month and week. But if you were to watch legacy media, and I know you probably don't, but a lot of people still do, especially local legacy media, they're being told a different story. And their hearts and minds can be shifted very easily. We cannot assume that just because we're on the right side of history, that the people who are on the wrong side of history cannot prevail. That would be a huge mistake on our part. Look at here. I've got one. Watch this. It's a small rally. This is out in front of HHS. Okay. This is a very small rally, and oddly, they're protesting Elon Musk out in front of HHS. But I think maybe they were protesting RFK Jr. before or after this, but at least this clip is very telling. Okay, I'm going to pause right there. I want you to, let's break this down. Look up at the top right corner. You see that? Hashtag Maha Kills. That's an organization that was just recently started. Okay, an organization. It's really, the organization itself has been around for a while, but this particular website has just been launched this month, and it's flat out lies and propaganda about not just Robert F. Kennedy Jr., but also Jay Bhattacharya, Elon Musk. It's got Stephen Miller mixed in there. It's got just everybody. Lee Zeldin with the EPA, somehow he's involved with Maha. It's a ludicrous concept that they're pushing this, but that's one of the small groups that's coming together. You see CWA, you see a lot of this AFT apparently, because their sign is out front. AFT is a very dangerous group. This is the second largest teachers union. This is American Federation of Teachers. This is the second largest teachers union in America, and it is the most radical teachers union in America. These folks combined, when they start getting, when George Soros and Alex Soros and people that are like the Soroses, other enemies of the United States of America, when they sink their money into coordinating these efforts, into buying these big banners that cost hundreds of dollars, oftentimes, and get these people together. They can't just get, okay, so AFT, we can get like 12 people out there. Okay, well, you guys come, and then we'll get these guys and these guys and these guys. We'll get all these groups together. Maybe we can piece together 30, 40, 50 people, and now we got a righteous protest. And now, press can zoom in and make it look bigger than it is and all that stuff. They're just trying to spread this false message, the idea that Americans are against it. It is up to us, you and me, okay? We are the ones that have to fight this. Elon Musk can do everything that he wants to do. President Trump can do everything he wants to do. Robert F. Kennedy, Stephen Miller, they can all do their part to try to go on Fox News or Newsmax or even occasionally CNN and talk, try to get the truth out there. But we have to remember that no matter how much we like to say, oh, legacy media is dying, that's true, but it's not dead yet. It can still reach people. As much as we like to say, oh, nobody's paying attention to the Democrats, they don't have any power, that's true. That also makes them desperate. That makes it to where they start screaming and yelling, and they can, I know it sounds crazy to people like you and me, but they might actually inspire the idiots on the left. It's happening. It can happen. Don't get complacent. I'm not saying, oh my gosh, it's doom and gloom. They've got signs, and they've got like these small rallies. It's over. We're done. I'm not saying that. Okay? Not by any means. All I'm saying is, don't get complacent. Don't assume that the battle is already won. Keep praying, keep fighting, keep spreading the truth. Because as they say, the truth can set you free, and hopefully the truth can also get some of these idiots to come to their senses, I guess. DNI Gabbard orders firing of members of pornographic LGBTQ chat groups in the intelligence community. For those who missed the story yesterday, congratulations. You probably don't want to hear it because it's that sick. But apparently, the NSA, CIA, DIA, they have this government chat room where they go and talk about weird sexual things. I'm not going to go into details, but it's specifically for the LGBTQIA plus community, for trans people to talk about their transing, and for homosexuals to talk about homosexual stuff. This things that I was seeing being reported about it. No, I'm not going to talk about it, but I will talk about this story over at Red State by Strife. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has given all intelligence agencies until Friday to identify the employees participating in pornographic chats while on duty, revoke their security clearance, and terminate their employment. In a memo released Tuesday evening, Gabbard responded decisively to revelations that numerous employees who were members of a national security agency chat system used it to discuss fetishes, kink, and sex as part of the agency's DEI program. And if there's anything that just smacks of the stupidity of the DEI trend that was taking place during the Biden-Harris regime, this is it. I mean, these are the people that are supposed to be, trying to catch terrorists, trying to inform our military and our leaders about things that are happening abroad. Risks, threats to the United States of America, whether they're cyber attacks, physical attacks, spying, whatever. And if you don't recall, during the Biden-Harris regime, we did have a spike in these incidences. I mean, it's not just Chinese balloons flying over the nation and collecting whatever it was they were collecting and dropping whatever it was they were dropping. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There were massive cyber attacks, massive movements of terrorists and military operations happening across the globe. And this is what our intelligence agencies are supposed to be monitoring. Instead, they're talking about their false vaginas or whatever. Well, they're going to get fired. Watch.
To see you again.
Good to see you too. Not so good to see some of these transgender sex chats among the intel officials. What are we going to do about that?
Well, Jesse, what we're going to do has already been done. There are over 100 people from across the intelligence community that contributed to and participated in this, what is really just an egregious violation of trust, what to speak of like basic rules and standards around professionalism. I put out a directive today that they all will be terminated and their security clearances will be revoked. But the thing here, Jesse, is like we got to take a step back, because this is just barely scratching the surface. When you see what these people were saying, and thanks to Chris Rufo for putting it all out online, they were brazen in using an NSA platform intended for professional use to conduct this kind of really horrific behavior. And they were brazen in doing this because when was the last time anyone was really held accountable? Certainly not over the last 4 years, certainly not over the last 10, maybe 20 years. When we look at some of the biggest violations of the American people's trust in the intelligence community. So today's action in holding these individuals accountable is just the beginning of what we're seeing across the Trump administration, which is carrying out the mandate the American people gave him. Clean house, root out that rot and corruption and weaponization and politicization, so we can start to rebuild that trust in these institutions that are charged with an important mission of serving the American people, ensuring our safety, security, and freedom.
Good for her and good for us. Good for her and good for us. They need to be gone. Not because of their gender identity or their sexual orientation or anything like that, but because they were using public tools on public time to talk about very private issues, apparently on a regular basis. This seemed to be what a lot of them were actually focused on. It's like, hey, there's spy balloons from China, but hey, let's talk about our whatever. I'm glad that she's acting. And it's funny because, for a very short period of time, I'm like, it's been a few days since Tulsi Gabbard has been confirmed. I wonder what she's been up to. We haven't heard much. And it's like, dude, stop it. I realized we've been spoiled. Okay. Not only did we get some great picks so far from the Trump administration, some great cabinet picks, non-cabinet appointees. They've just been fabulous. The bar has been set super high, and most of them, hit the ground running. But here's the thing. In government, hitting the ground running means getting action going in the first, 30, 60, 90, 100 days, right? That's the scale that we've always set. Well, President Trump has come out and said, okay, what have we done today? What are we doing right now? And then you got Elon Musk saying, hey, guys, tell me what you did last week. It's like, let's just go, go, go. So I quickly realized that Tulsi Gabbard is probably doing a fine job and doing things that are amazing right on day one. But, in this crazy news cycle that we've been in ever since Inauguration Day, it would be easy to miss any of the great things that she has been doing. Well, this one, nobody missed because it did have, obviously, a very controversial topic for her to play with. And here she is, doing her job, doing it fast, doing it right. So praise God for that. The best way that you can help to get this show as many viewers as possible, because we do need to expand the show. We appreciate all of our viewers, all of our listeners. We appreciate you so greatly. I cannot tell you how blessed I am to have you watching me, listening to me here every Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekends. But the best way that you can help to spread the word is to not only subscribe, but also to thumbs up. I need to get the darn thumbs up. I need to get my thumbs up. Up. You get it. So please be sure to give me a nice thumbs up. And check out our sponsors. You can always find all the various places where I am, whether it's on social, my websites, everything like that. Go to jdrucker.com/find, jdrucker.com/find. Leave me a note if you have any questions, suggestions, recommendations. If you need to know my Bitcoin wallet so you can send me a bunch of money. Best way to contact me is by going to jdrucker.com/talk, jdrucker.com/talk. Lord willing, I will be back very soon with another episode. But in the meantime, you all stay strong, stay safe, and God bless.